Let's talk to Miatta Fahnbulleh, who is the Chief Executive of the New Economics Foundation and is joining us on the line. What would you put in your top three list of hoped-for announcements from the Chancellor come Wednesday, Miatta?
So for me, the big story of this week is the fact that we are facing an income crisis in the country. You know, the economic hit of the pandemic is really starting to bite. So the three things I'd like to see is, first, bolstering social security. The thing that we at the New Economics Foundation have been calling for is a living income, so an income guarantee of £227 for anyone that needs it so they can weather the pain that's coming in the pandemic. The second is we need continuation and protection for jobs. So the government was right to extend the furlough scheme, but they've done it to an arbitrary date of March. And, you know, our view is that furlough should be in place for as long as businesses are being asked not to operate because of restrictions so that we can protect jobs. And then the third is that we need to start boosting the economy. It needs to be thinking about a big fiscal stimulus so that we can pump prime the economy and critically create jobs. 28 billion in green infrastructure, for example, we know would unlock 400,000 jobs in the next 18 months. So these are the big measures, but at the heart is how on earth we continue to support livelihoods going forward.
Do you not think that the measures that the Chancellor has put in place throughout this pandemic have been sufficient to protect livelihoods?
So I think they've done a reasonable job in terms of protecting jobs. So, you know, the furlough scheme has been an absolute lifeline, and it is a measure that, you know, they learnt from Germany, and we would be looking at far higher rates of unemployment but for the furlough scheme. And the lesson, I think, of the last few months is if you pretend and claim you're going to sort of withdraw it, jobs get lost. So we need continued certainty for as long as the pandemic. But where the government has had a blind spot is on income support, because people have been losing their jobs. There are many people who have fallen through the cracks of government support scheme, and they are facing real hardship. And at the moment, the government hasn't done enough. The £20 increase in universal credit has helped some, but not nearly at the scale in order to counter the fact that we are seeing a huge income squeeze as a consequence of an unprecedented economic crisis.
And how would you pay for this lot? We're now well over $2 trillion in debt as a result of legacy debt and then the debt that's been accrued over this last year or so. What would you do to start paying that down?
Well, the first thing is you don't do it now. Every single credible economist, the IMF, the World Bank, the OECD are saying to governments globally, this is not the time for fiscal consolidation. That's trying to balance the books. This is the time for you to invest and pump prime your economy, because this is an unprecedented economic hit, deepest contraction of the economy for 300 years. So you do not do it now. You don't do it next year. You wait for the recovery to hold, because the government starts trying to increase taxes or cut, it will choke the recovery. And the quickest and the best way in which you pay down the deficit, this is the experience we got from the financial crisis, is you grow your economy, because you increase tax take, and that's the way in which you start to pay down your debt. So that has got to be the priority. And then in the long term, of course, by 2022, they can then think about, we've got the economy growing, what are the ways in which we increase taxation? But they should seek to do that in the most progressive way.